Mr. Joe Witte is the DeWitt County Board Chair. Good morning, Mr. Witte. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good, Seth. How about you?
Oh, I've been better. I'd rather not give whatever I have to you and the fine folks in DeWitt County. So for today, I just put everybody on a Zoom call. So I appreciate you being flexible with us, and we'll get you in studio.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you putting me out here. It was nice not to have to come in today with the colder weather coming in overnight.
Oh my gosh, how is this has been crazy? And has the county building been impacted at all that you've heard?
Not that I've heard. We held a meeting last night. It was warmer than what I keep my house at, so it felt good. But yeah, of course, I think it was supposed to drop overnight, so there's more this morning.
Yep. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. If you don't like Illinois weather, just wait a few days and it'll change, right? And we're headed to the 50s for the weekend, so hopefully some nicer days are ahead. And Mr. Witte, let's dive into that meeting last night. Let me pull up my agenda and have you tell us about it. What, from your perspective, what went on last night?
We had a very light agenda yesterday. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot going on in committees, but not many motions to bring forward. We had a few appointments. But, we were done by 6:23. Again, I promised you before that we're not going to promise that every time, right? But
just when I'm not there is what it seems to be here. So,
right. No, it was just I think a lot of things are going on in committee and might take some time to work their way to the full board. But
like what?
I think if we went down committee by committee, there's a lot going on with public safety and ETSB really, with figuring out how to fill Tony Harris's spot. Again, that's not really public safety so much, but Mr. Ferris is our chair, and he's board representative for ETSB. Also, indirectly, that does impact finance and public safety to a certain extent. So they're working through those issues. I know the land use has, been looking ahead to what we're going to do in 2025. Finance had some things on their agenda that they've been talking through that, weren't quite ready to bring to the full board, but, May later this year. So,
okay.
We can go down the list as you want.
Let's start with Tony Harris's position because, I would assume that's one you really don't want to leave vacant for too long. So what's going on there? How do you go about filling that position?
A lot of that falls under right now Sheriff Walker and really the ETSB. There's board representation on that, with Mr. Harris, and of course there's the fire protection districts and Clinton Police and the sheriff also part of that board, and they're taking the lead on that. They're working through that, but you're right. We don't want to leave that position vacant for long, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you got the right people, in place so that we can continue to operate that at a level, similar to what Tony did. So,
sure.
I think they've made some progress. There's been some maybe slight changes in what we were planning on doing originally, but I think they've got a plan. I think they've got a good candidate. Nothing to share at this time, but that's one of those things that over the years, that position that Tony held, he took on roles and responsibilities that, every county does things a little bit differently. We didn't have another county that does things exactly like DeWitt. So once he steps out of that position, it's like, okay, what makes sense going forward? You're not going to find somebody who does that has the same experience that Tony did, handling all the responsibilities that he did. So, it's just a matter of figuring out what is the best way forward for that, for those positions, plural, and they've been working through that. And I know that Tom Harris and Sheriff Walker and others have been keeping the public safety and finance committees apprised as to what they're working through. But
yeah. Well, and that's sometimes where a lot of places run into trouble, Mr. Witte, is you have a person that is so good at their job that you just kind of add more and more and more. And then when they, inevitably leave, it's one of those things where, well, gosh, we threw so much at them. This isn't really your traditional whatever role it is. And so you have to reimagine it a little bit. And that's where kind of you get into a sticky wicket, if you will.
It is. And, it's a lot of what I think every business deals with this, even where I'm working, it's the same thing. You've got folks that that know the systems inside and out. They know the processes, and eventually they move on. And we always worry about you're not going to have somebody that has that experience be able to step into that role and do it at the same level immediately. Right? It's going to take time. It's just a matter of trying to anticipate those best we can. In my position, where I work, we do worry about the experts that are going to retire and who's going to fill that spot. But people do step up. That's the other thing. If we can figure out what our responsibilities are for a position, we outline those roles and responsibilities. We do have good people that can step up, fill those roles, and they're not going to be at the same level, but we got to give people opportunity to grow as well. So
sure.
That's kind of what's happening right now, at least with the CENTCOM manager. We've got folks who are helping keep that the wheels on, and we're managing it while there is that search going on to see how we're going to handle this long term. So
sure,
we've got good folks in there helping out.
Sure. Land use, what are they working on these days?
So last meeting we talked a little bit about the comprehensive plan. No action taken on that. We didn't really budget for revisiting the comprehensive plans, but there was some discussion about what are we going to do in 2020, 26, 25, and the comprehensive plan did come up. I took the time since that meeting to reread that plan, and I'm not sure what we're going to do. As I look through the plan, there's a lot of I got it right here in front of me. There's a task list or to-do list, things that we can do over the coming years from when this was first written in 2018. Things that we could do to achieve some goals, who we would partner with. And I think what we need to do before we go and just revisit the entire plan is let's reevaluate how we've done on some of those tasks. So,
well, it sounds like it's time to freshen that thing up and maybe put a new one together.
Well, it depends. I think there's some things that have changed in the last 7-8 years. Other things maybe we haven't made as much of a focus as we should have on some of the task list, the goals, and who we partner with. So, I think I don't think it's cheap to go and rewrite this plan.
Right.
Last time they did surveys, we got a consultant in, and we had representatives from a lot of different, groups throughout the community. Does it make sense to pull that whole thing together again if there's just a few things that need some tweaking? I think we need to have those discussions a little bit more. I don't know that we're ready to say we're going to redo the entire plan, but
right.
What we asked, out of our last meeting is let's go to the same consultant that ran this last time, see if they've got a price for maybe just not an overall rewrite, but just to refresh it and look at what the cost will be, and then we kind of go from there. But I think there's a lot of things that we can still take from this plan. And find areas to focus on without having to do a total rewrite at the same cost that we did last time.
Well, and I wonder, Mr. Witte, how much does just the natural turnover of a board like the DeWitt County Board impact a plan like that, moving forward? Because since 2018, I mean, we've had a lot of big issues that have come up in the county, and that has led to turnover on the board. And so people that come in may not have the priority of a comprehensive plan and seeing that through. They're focused on other things. Their priorities are elsewhere. How much of that just kind of natural turnover of a board impacts moving forward with a plan like this?
It certainly can. I think the folks that were representing the board when this was put together 2018 are no longer on the board, but there are some things in here that I think keep others getting up to date as there is turnover. We've had turnover in not just in the county board level, but I think the representatives from the Regional Planning Commission, DCDC, there's been turnover there too. So one of the goals that I saw in here, the task was coming up with an annual meeting of the different interested parties and kind of touching base periodically. And I'm not sure that we've done that. So I'm not sure if we ever did that. Those are the kinds of things that maybe we need to look at and just see, okay, let's take some of the action items that came out of the last plan and focus on those for a couple of years and see where we go. Make sure that, everybody's still kind of on the same page. We've had some great things happening, recently with economic development but, does it make sense to do a rewrite of the plan, or does it make sense to maybe just set up some of the framework to keep the various bodies, taxing bodies, working together to a common vision? And we'll have that continued discussion, I think, at land use.
Yep. Anything else out of land use?
That was the main item. But, obviously there's some other, we get a report. Our revenue from the landfill was down a little bit this year. Things like, the review of that report came up, and, we look at the zoning, what's happened from a zoning perspective the last month. But, the big item that got most discussion was the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, gotcha. Very good. Well, Mr. Witte, I'll tell you what, I looked at the clock. Rather than dive into a whole new committee and what they have going on, let's just take a break, and we'll regroup and come back on the other side of it. Mr. Joe Witte is the DeWitt County Board Chair, our guest on the Zoom today, as we follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting with him coming up on the morning show. WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Corn and beans starting the day slightly lower. Chicago wheat higher. March corn opening $4.96 and a quarter, down 1 3/4. May corn down 2 1/4, $5.10 1/2, and new crop December $4.77 3/4, down 1 3/4. March beans starting the day $10.40 and a quarter, down 5 1/4. May beans down 4 3/4, $10.58 and a quarter. And November new crop, $10.57 3/4, down 3 1/2. March Chicago wheat opening $5.90 1/4, up 4 3/4. May wheat up a nickel, $6.05 1/4. July wheat $6.19, also up a nickel. March bean meal $2.95.80, that's down 20 cents. And March bean oil $46.50, down 76 cents. Opening numbers on this Friday morning. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
It's time to celebrate winter. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have extra savings on all new Chevrolets this month to celebrate the winter season. See our inventory of Chevrolet Trailblazers, Blazers, and the all-new Chevy Trax. We also have a larger, redesigned 7-passenger Traverse and a good selection of 24 and 25 Tahoes. See our winter celebration savings at BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
SIU Family Medicine wants the best health for you and your family. Be a champion. Protect your loved ones. The SIU Center for Family Medicine of Lincoln is accepting new patients. Click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com to schedule your appointment.
Hi, I'm Brett with Central Cremation Center, and we proudly serve all of Central Illinois. We offer the most affordable and convenient arrangements in the area with plans starting at just $795. Many of our plans are available by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Mr. Joe Witte is the DeWitt County Board Chair, following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. Mr. Witte, I know we talked about public safety, kind of trying to find Tony Harris's replacement there in the first segment. Did we miss anything from them that they're working on?
I don't believe so. I know that they did get a report from Will always sends in a report from the EMA every month, and then Grace from Animal Control kind of get updated them. She was actually at the meeting, and some items that they're going to be addressing, but things seem to be going well there, and no action to take out of that public safety committee meeting.
Sure. Well, as we kind of roll through, you mentioned finance was taking some things up. What have they been discussing here?
Yeah, I think the big item from their agenda, I think it comes up periodically, is with the IMRF, looking at, does it make sense to do some type of offer where, we could do an early retirement package. This was I'm not sure the last time this was looked at, but I don't think it's been actually run in DeWitt County where we've actually done it. I think the rules there are basically that, you offer an early retirement where both the employee and the county would essentially buy out so many years of retirement. If they want to, if they're close enough, if they're in that age range where they could get to retirement, where they could, buy out 2, 3, I think it's up to 5 years. It's not new, right? Other businesses have done this type of thing. And the reason that you would do some of that is to maybe look at some cost savings. So, it's something that the county can look at. We've got at this point, 9 or 10, depending on what we look at from a cutoff range, 9 or 10 employees that would potentially be eligible for an early retirement. The thing is there cost savings in doing that? If you're going to have to fill a spot that becomes vacant with somebody at the exact same salary, there may not really be any cost savings to the county, but there may be opportunities where, you can get by with fewer positions. So, it's not something that you can make a decision in a month. I think this was brought for them as an opportunity, and they looked at some preliminary numbers, but it's going to take some time to go back and say, okay, who's on that list, and what would we do with those positions if we did offer that early retirement and that employee decided to exercise that option. You can't force anybody. Employee can make that decision, and they'd have a year to decide. But that does introduce some challenges, right? You don't know who's going to take an option like that, and how easy it is to fill some of those spots. We're working through filling vacancies right now, and it takes a little bit of time. So, not something that we'll rush through, but we certainly need to take a look at.
No, and I feel like this has come up several times. I don't want to say several, a few times in the last 10, 12, 13 years.
Yeah, I think it is something that they periodically look at, and my understanding is they haven't taken action on it and we may not this time. There's no guarantees. That was one of the items that came up at finance, and there was a fair amount of discussion around it. And what they decided is let's pause it. Let's rerun a report later this. I think probably in the summer. I think maybe the July timeframe. But in the meantime, we need to kind of take a look at who's on that list and what would we do if those positions did open up. Would we, combine positions? Would you hire in somebody at a lesser salary or lesser pay rate? There's a lot that can go into determining if it even makes sense financially. Not to mention that, if everybody decided to take that, we've got a lot of vacancies to fill, and what's the market like? So
all of a sudden you're really short-staffed.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to consider there, and maybe that's why we haven't done anything in the past. But that's one of the items that they're going to be looking at.
Not land use. Property doing anything?
Property has been working on, some landscaping. I often go in and don't even. I'm one of those guys that can be oblivious and I don't notice the landscaping. But if you stop and look, we are in need of a little bit of some TLC on some of the landscaping around the county building. We did get a landscape architect who designed a plan so that we could put out a for bid an option to give the several areas around the county building a facelift, not only just the reshaping of some beds, but then actually the planting of plants. And so we did get that landscape drawing back with the plan, and that's going to be going out for bid. I think it may actually already be out there. And so at the next property meeting, we're hoping to look at some of those bids and just kind of see, whether there's somebody that we want to award both what we're calling phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is being more the reshaping of the beds and getting everything ready for planting. You don't necessarily want to plant, in the middle of the summer. So there may be a phase 2 where some of that replanting occurs. But yeah, the county building, just kind of even like what Clinton's doing, trying to make sure that the city is presentable. We need to do that with the county building as well. So we'll be looking at that hopefully next month and starting to get some bids in.
So I drove by yesterday, noticed there was like some orange cones in a few spots in front of the county building. What's going on there?
I don't know if that would have been the tuck pointing.
It may have been because it was around those like brick like walls that lead up to the front entrance there. So maybe that's what
Yeah,
it was.
I noticed the truck is there. I can't imagine doing tuck pointing in this weather. So I'm not sure if they're starting or just getting prepared for it. But
Gotcha.
that is something that we have on deck as well.
Well, I saw Tuesday night the city council in Clinton. They either put on file or approved their motor fuel tax for the summer maintenance stuff. Is that on the radar of the road and bridge at this point?
That we handled our budget, and did all that last, I guess it was November. I don't know if there was any discussion on that. Really, what road and bridge, I think they had the one motion that we covered last night, which was, refilling our stock of CA6 gravel. So, not very exciting stuff. But the other item from their meeting, is the road use agreement for the solar farm that is, looking to, potentially in the near future submit an application. I know they had a initial draft to the county engineer, and there had been some feedback, and they did get that resubmitted to the county engineer. They looked at that feedback, and I think it's back in the solar developers court now. So
Okay.
That was one of those
Kinda
items that
moving
they had
along
some
then.
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Well, Mr. Witte, a couple of minutes, or maybe a minute here. Anything out of Thursday night we didn't get to, or committees that they're taking up here? Anything we didn't get to?
One thing that's not even on the agenda, we have our compliance and IT committee now that we set up, kind of an ad hoc committee, and we had our inaugural meeting. One of the things that we'll be doing, we did have Hart Technology. I think Hart kind of take over some of the IT infrastructure for the county. And they actually did a review already. So one thing that compliance and IT will be looking at is, their recommendations. So more to come on that as well. We're going to start diving in. We'll actually have them at our next compliance and IT meeting, and just kind of look at what we have from security standpoint that might need to be addressed, and then we'll get into the compliance side of that as well. But really, IT will be the focus initially.
Well, we'll look forward to what comes to bear from that. Mr. Witte, always good to talk to you. Thanks for making time for us today.
too.
Yep, Mr.
All right, take care, yourself.
Yeah, you too. Mr. Joe Witte is the DeWitt County Board Chair, following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting with us on the morning show on WHOW.